Question number one. Now that your government has restored fiscal discipline, how is the state of Philippine finances vis-a-vis the expected increase in project expenditures? Because of the many projects you have lined up.
Sorry, just to make sure I'm answering the right question. Can you repeat the last part of the question?
Yes. Now that your government has restored fiscal discipline, how is the state of Philippine finances? I suppose this is sourcing, no? Vis-a-vis expected increase in project expenditures.
In terms of project expenditures, what was afforded to us by the GAA, the General Appropriations Act, the Secretary of Budget Management has told us that they have been front-loading a significant portion of this. I'm sorry I don't have the exact numbers for it, but it will not be less than 50%. Well, the original plan was 50% per semester, but it has gone way beyond that, especially in terms of salaries and in terms of projects already awarded, by, for instance, by the Department of Public Works and Highways. We are getting very, very good terms with regards to the borrowings that we have to do. The Secretary of Finance, if I'm not mistaken, has just told us that we received better terms for a $1.5 billion loan that we secured, better than Spain, and already at par with Italy. And as you know, these countries have been previously rated as investment grade for the longest time. So we will be doing a lot more, and we will have to pay less interest in achieving the infrastructure programs that we do need that will support so many things like tourism and, of course, business in general and agriculture.
Mr. President, speaking of tourism, what is new in the Philippines that makes it more attractive to foreign investors and tourists relative to Asian neighbors?
Well, I think we're a market that has yet to be developed. There are, for instance, there is a proposal that is winding its way to my desk, which states basically the proposal to reserve 78 areas within the country for ecotourism sites. There are about 14 million tourists visit Thailand, about 22, 24 million visit Malaysia. In comparison, when we got into office, there was only 3 million that visited the Philippines. So therefore, this is an experience that has yet to be experienced by a lot more of the citizens of the world. And once the upgrades to the airports in particular have been achieved, and we have approved upgrades to Calibo, Caticlan, Puerto Princesa, Laguindingan in Cagayan de Oro, and others, and of course, Clark will not be left behind, then this will make travel easier. We already have that pocket open skies policy that basically reserves Metro Manila for the restrictions on air travel. So it will be easier to come over to the Philippines, and we're working double time on securing Category 1 status with the FAA, as well as being removed from the European blacklist as far as air travel is concerned. So once it's easier to travel here, once they experience truly why it is more fun in the Philippines, then it will be, we already did 4 million or close to 4 million last year. And I would be very, very surprised if we did not surpass that number this year, ending up with about hopefully 10 million by 2016.
Great. Sir, regarding future jobs, what are we doing to align education with needs of the markets for jobs?
Oh, that's a very good question. There is a website called PhilJobNet, which is run by the Department of Labor and Employment. And I'm told that every month there is a discrepancy of between 50 to 60,000 jobs left unfilled, primarily because the skills needed by the job openings there's no match. Okay. So what have we been doing? Well, CHED has been very, very active. They have been closing down a number of schools that have not been, don't have the capacity to adequately train the people that they're accepting as students. That is represented by the fact that quite a number of the schools failed to secure at least 30% passing for the graduates that they produce from the schools. There are some that have never produced a board passer, so they are being closed. No? Then we have tasked CHED, DOLE, TESDA, and even Basic Ed to a degree, and we are getting them to talk with the business community, specifically the BPO industry as one, and others, primarily to have greater coordination as to the potentials that exist in the various industries and get our students into career paths that will have jobs by the time that they do graduate, thereby eliminating the situation where one of the tragedies that I think all of us are aware of, there were too many people who went to occupational and physical therapy thinking that was the hot course, only to graduate to find out that there were no available jobs, transferred right after to complete a nursing course, which took them another 5 years and roughly about ₱500,000 to complete. And again, to wind up in the same situation of chasing after jobs that were existing when they entered college, but were no longer there by the time they did graduate. So the end point being is we inventory where do we have skills. And it used to be just services. But Secretary Domingo here has been giving me so many reports of manufacturing entities that have been coming into the country. A lot of them, I think, were convinced by Mr. Willie Tan over here, who has done quite a great feat. No? So the end point is that it will not be totally laissez-faire. No? There will be some guidance to it. There will be incentives for our students to embark on courses where there is actual need, not just by industry, but also by government. For instance, when we researched the Pasig River dredging program, it was a 5 billion project, and we wanted to know if dredging actually did. We needed a geophysicist. Okay. And I'm glad to report we have one. There is one geophysicist in this country. No? So there are various disciplines that we do need. No? Meteorology. I'm sure all of us really pay attention to the weather. And it turns out that there is no course that offers a degree in meteorology afterwards. So there are various seminars. So we're getting incentives for the schools to set it up, get us the people that we do need that are very good in terms of providing the services that this country needs to continue its road of progress.
Sir, now that you've been president for 2 years now, how are you coping up with the pressures and responsibilities in Malacanang? And do you have any anecdotes on how it's the same or different with your late mother's time in Malacanang?
Well, for one thing, I have not had to contend with 9 coup d'etats. So it's a little quieter. The other thing is, of course, I think I did say in my speech that I'm standing on the shoulders of those that came before us. So I was not thrust into it and expected. It's like being thrust into the deep end of the pool. At least I was wading in the shallow end of the pool during my mother's term. That gave me some ideas of what to expect when I got here. It's not been 2 years, no? Sometimes it feels like 4 years, but it's actually, I'm counting it down. We have something like 4 years and 3 months left. No? So we minus 1 month every time it's the first of the month. So it brings us closer to the goal. So I guess with all of us in the cabinet, especially, no, and all of our allies, the difficulties we faced, the first 3 months were really just an inventory of the problems that were bequeathed to us. No? The ability to absorb all of this information, especially when a lot of the things that we have been cracking down upon really made no sense. You know, one of our comedians used to say, that's a lot of nonsense. No? A lot of nonsensical things really were left on our laps to try and deduce. I'll give you, for instance, about, I guess 2 or 3 weeks ago, we were just given a report that there is a Tulay ng Pangulo program, the President's Bridges program. Okay, we contracted with a foreign firm to build us prefabricated bridges. Well and good, we need a lot of bridges. But unfortunately, they contracted about 400, Greg, if you were there, 400 or so bridges. And they were to determine where these bridges will be put after we contracted the construction of these prefabricated bridges. So I'm told we will be able to use most of them. But the thing is, I think you'd start out with determining where are the bridges needed, how many spans do you need, how big, what is the load factor that has to be put, and so on and so forth. A lot of technical things. So they contracted the bridges first and will determine where we will put it in afterwards. And they signed the contract, if I'm not mistaken, June 28, 2010, or barely 2 days left in their term. And that was part of the legacy that they gave us. But I guess to a degree we have achieved a certain level of confidence that each time a problem comes before us, there is an opportunity that is presented. And it's not our spin masters who tell us all about the good news. In fact, I think we get a lot more media space outside the country telling us about the good news in the Philippines and within the country.
And finally, for a last question, on the international front, with the tension in Iran possibly pushing world oil prices higher, what can the Philippines and also the business community do to prepare for this possible exigency?
Well, there are various schemes, various projects that we are undertaking. For instance, no, we want to lessen our dependence on crude oil, which we import almost totally. Okay, and to do that, can we power what we need with the resources that we have on hand? So the renewable energy sector is a sector that has been given quite a lot of incentives. No? I've been pushing NEDA to finish its study on the e-tricycle program. No? It will be powered by electricity. It will make the profits for the operator and the driver that much more. It contributes to lessening of the pollution. And at the same time, electricity, we are not that dependent on foreign imported oil to power our electrical plants. I mean, compared to where it was before. For instance, in Mindanao, it's primarily hydroelectric power. So that is something that we can count on and renew. That's part of it. Second, of course, there will be a savings program mandated. No? And besides that, which will naturally occur because of the workings of the marketplace, that is another avenue that we're checking on. Now, we're trying to help the transport sector also. Amongst the things that we have been doing are the Pantawid Pasada program, which gives them a subsidy. That's number one. There is a facility by the Development Bank of the Philippines wherein they can form cooperatives. They're lent up to 10 million pesos to set up their own gas station. Therefore, the profits of the gas station will accrue to the transport sector. Secretary Domingo has been talking to manufacturers of tires, batteries, spare parts, etc., to get them volume discounts as a way of easing their costs of doing business. So, and then there are various members of the private sector who are proposing that, for instance, in toll roads, there will be reductions or discounts in terms of the fees charged to ease the burdens on the transport sector and therefore the consumers of the products that are being transported through these toll roads. He's even saying that there is a possibility that for certain off-peak hours, it might be totally free. But even a discount will be helpful. So we have been maintaining dialogue with the transport sector, amongst others. We are trying to do what we can to achieve some stability, especially in the Middle East. As you know, we have quite a sizable number of our countrymen there. We have been participating in various fora to try and add our voice to the voices of being calm and peaceful and trying to resolve this issue in the most amicable manner possible. But of course, at the same time, we are also trying to maximize utilization of the resources that we do have. We have natural gas in the Philippines. Where there's natural gas, there is supposed to be oil. But we are also undertaking things that, for instance, improving the forest areas and the watersheds, primarily to enhance the hydroelectric component. And I can go on and on, but I'm sure Secretary Almendros, who is at the back, can describe all of the other aspects of how we will try to minimize the problems brought about by the tensions brewing in the Middle East.
Thank you so
Thank you.
much, Mr. President.